Hello, marry me. So, the topic I wanted to discuss is about basically baptism and other ways of dedicating a child to a religion, and whatever or not one as a parent should do it. Now, I know some people will say that I have no right to make a comment on that since I do not have a child and do not plan to have any. And I would say you have the right to that opinion. However, it is still a topic in society, and whatever or not I have children, I am still a member of society. So yeah, if you don't think the opinions of somebody who does not have children has any value, then you are more than welcome not to watch my video. So yeah, now this topic came up in a discussion in my support group for Asperger's syndrome that I went to here the other day, and basically what we were discussing was first and foremost was if it's right for a parent to dedicate a child into a religion while the child is so young that he or she does not have the option to choose. And my opinion on that is that it's okay. Now, before you go off on me, let me explain. I think that as a parent has to be able to make some decisions for a child. And that includes that if the parent thinks it's the right thing for a child to be baptized, Wiccaned, or any other such ceremony, then that is the right of that parent. What I do not think is right is if the parents start to protest when the child decides that they want to follow another religion or not follow a religion at all. I think that we have to, as a society, have freedom of religion, and I think that freedom of religion starts in the home. So I think that it's okay to baptize your child, but if the child says, I don't want to be a Christian, or if you're Wiccan, your child says, I don't want to be a Wiccan, and so on, then you as a parent has to accept that. Now, me personally, if I had a child, I probably wouldn't do it. I would not dedicate my child to a religion before it was old enough to choose. I might do a naming ceremony where I asked for blessings upon the child, but I wouldn't dedicate the child to the religion. The difference being that one would be to ask for blessings and protections and sort of celebrate that this child has been born, and the other would be to say this child is a follower of this religion, whatever not he or she wants it. So I wouldn't do it, but I think it's okay if others want to do it. What I do not think is okay is to baptize your child just out of tradition. And here's why. I was in a baptism not that long ago, and the parents are not Christian. So they stand there with the little boy in their arms and promise before the priest, their friends, and a whole lot of strangers that they will raise this boy in the Christian faith. That's lie. That's standing before a lot of people, and whatever or not you believe the deity is there, and flat out lie. And I don't think that's a good idea. And I discussed this with one of the people at that support group, and she said, yeah, but he wanted to raise her child, and she had baptized her children, and she just wanted to raise them with the good and loving qualities and so on. She's not Christian, but surely that was enough. She said, no, that's not what you're promising. You're not promising to raise the child to be a good and decent and kind human being. You're promising to raise the child in the Christian faith. You're promising to raise the child to become a Christian. There's a very big difference there. Yes, it's true, there's a lot of the ideas of morality and what we consider to be good, which has come in through Christianity. And like my mother says, she is not Christian, but she is a big fan of the Christian values. So it would be okay, for example, for her to baptize a child and say that she wants to raise the child with the Christian values, because a lot of the values in Western society is based on Christianity. But that's not the wording of the ceremony. The ceremony usually is being raised in the Christian faith. And I don't think that one should lie out of tradition. That's what I have a problem with it. Lying as a cause of tradition. And I think that's also why I really like that many hand fastings is based on a different wording than we are gonna be together forever, because basically you never know. So much can happen within a relationship that to stand there before your deities and your friends and promise that you will be together until death do you part. Then if life goes you the wrong way, then suddenly you are faced with a decision: either break a sacred promise that you've done during ritual, or stay together with a person you no longer love and be unhappy. A lot of hand fastings instead say we're gonna stay together for as long as love lasts. And I think I really like that. But I've got enough topic. My point is, I don't think that you should lie in ritual, for whatever religion you happen to do that ritual in. And at least in Norway, it's extremely traditional to baptize your child. And every family member expects it. And so many people do it without being religious. And I think that's wrong. I don't think it's right to stand and lie just because your family and friends expect it. I mean, you can have a name ceremony or name celebration for that child that is either non-religious or based on another religion. But don't stand there and promise to raise that child in the Christian faith unless that's what you're planning on doing. So yeah. And the same way at the confirmation. I know that a lot of people are not Christian, they're not planning on being Christian and so on, but they go through a confirmation anyway because their families expect that their families might not even be Christian. It's just that it's what everybody do, it's what everybody expects. And I think that's the wrong way to handle religion. So yeah. However, like I said, baptizing a child, if you're planning on raising them as a Christian, I am actually okay with that. As long as you will then accept it. Then the child tell you that they no longer want to follow that religion. Because I really do not think that any parent has the right to demand that the child follow their religion. And I also think that it makes no sense. Because, trust me, even if you feel that the best thing for your child is Christianity, or Islam, or Buddhism, or whatever path you are following, and that child said, no, I want to follow another religion, I want to be an atheist, and you make trouble for them, you refuse them to follow their own religion, you try to force them to follow yours, then trust me, as soon as that child is an adult, your religion is going to be out the door. And instead of just not wanting to follow it, then they're gonna hate it. I mean, about every born-again atheist I have seen, one of those militant I hate all religion types, if you ask them about it, they had extremely religious parents who try to force the religion on them. So it doesn't make sense from any point of view to try to force your child into religion, because the only thing you will succeed in is driving them away from it. Also, it is in the human rights that there are freedom of religion, and I think freedom of religion should apply to children as well. So yeah. Now, while I do think it's okay to baptize your child, I think that personally the best way to do it is to wait until your child at least is old enough to have a say. But like I said, that's just my opinion. Now, as for including the child in your religious life, I have no problem with that. I mean, some people say, yeah, but then you influence the child. Yeah, but you influence your child with everything. I mean, I love reading books. If I had a child, the chances are that child will be interested in books. I like classical music. Chances are that child will like classical music, because parents influence their child. That kind of the job of a parent. So of course, if I had a child, I would include him or her in rituals. I would teach them magic, unless they specifically said they didn't want to. So, and I don't have a problem with others doing that with their religions either. Take your child to church, take them to the mosque, teach them to meditate, teach them to honor their ancestors. Whatever is your cup of tea in your religion, do that with your child. Teach them about what you think is important. I don't see a problem with it. But don't force the child. So yeah. This video I've been a bit rambling about on different topics, but generally it's just about my frustration over how many baptize their children without having any intention of actually keeping that promise. And yeah, I will probably make another video at some point about the various religious rituals that many people do without thinking and without putting any meaning behind it, and often just standing there flat out lying because there's a lot of them, and I don't think it's right. And I am very glad that I am not baptized, that my mother did not give in to societal pressure and sort of started my life by lying on my behalf. I mean, the way she saw it, if I wanted religion, I could have it, but she wasn't gonna baptize me. And I'm 31 years old. She got a lot of reactions, and I'm not had a confirmation either, because by that time I was pagan. And I thought that the humane ethics, what are they called? Never mind. The non-religious confirmation sort of thingy, I thought was utter bullshit. So I didn't really go for that either, so I just had a party. So yeah, a coming of age party. So yeah, I'm very glad that my mother didn't give in to that pressure. Though if she had been Christian, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. It's the lying that really gets to me. The saying, I'm going to raise this child in the Christian faith, and that's definitely not your intention. Your intention is to just ignore all of that and just, yeah. Like I said, I think that if you don't believe religion have any meaning, then just don't practice any of it. Just stay away from it. And if you think that it has a meaning, then why would you stand there and lie? So I really think that people, when they trying to decide whether or not they should baptize their child, and I'm mentioning baptize not because I think other religions are better than Christianity, but because in the West at least that's the traditional thing to do. There are far few people who weaken their child, for example, just out of tradition. Basically, I think that you should, as a parent, really think about what kind of rituals do you want to include your child in, and do you want to promise to raise this child in one religion or another, and are you really going to do it? Basically, it's better to disappoint old Aunt Olga than it is to stand before your friends, family, deities, priest, and half the town and lie. So yeah, that was my video. Hope you have enjoyed it. Have a great day, and blessed be.